House Oversight Committee will hold a hearing sanctuary city mayors this week. Republican lawmakers want to examine, quote, their refusal to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, and they're calling for them to be held publicly accountable. Here with us now, Senior Advisor to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Ronald Vitiello. Ronald, good to see you again. Welcome back.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So let's talk about those mayors. I mean, these are huge sanctuary cities. We're talking Boston, Chicago, Denver, here in New York. They will all be on Capitol Hill on Wednesday. What would you ask, and what do you want to hear from them, Ronald?
Well, I would like them to reverse the wrong-headed policies that protect people who are in the country illegally and have also committed crimes in those jurisdictions. I don't think most people would vote. If you put that out in an up and down vote, most people would not vote to have criminals among them in our society, in our culture, in our neighborhoods, who have also entered the country illegally. They've not been vetted. They've not been invited here. We have a rich history of immigration in the United States, but most people want people to follow the rules, and most immigrants do that. And so having people who are in the country illegally committing crimes against the very citizens that they took an oath to represent, I think is a wrong-headed policy, and I hope Congress gets an opportunity to hear from them why this destructive kind of way ahead they think is in their interest of the people that they represent.
We should mention New York City Mayor Eric Adams is considering a deal with border czar Tom Homan to allow ICE agents to operate on Rikers Island. What ways do you see other sanctuary cities cooperating?
Well, I think that is probably the most important thing that they can do. Like work with in the jail setting so that the men and women of the front line at ICE can arrest people while they're still in custody of a sheriff's office or a city police department after they've committed crimes, so that they can be put on a path for removal and sent out of the United States. That would be a step forward. Mayor Adams wants to do that for Rikers Island, but these other mayors, you know, they're not talking about things like that. But the idea that people who are here illegally are protected by mayors in cities and towns and jurisdictions, it's a destructive policy. We see the effects of people who are unvetted, this gang from Venezuela wreaking havoc, killing young women all over the country. That has to stop. It's still against the law to cross the border illegally and stay in the United States without permission.
So what level of cooperation from these border cities is considered a success, in your opinion, Ronald?
Follow the law. It's against the law to come into the country illegally. It's also against the law for anyone to protect people who are in the country illegally, even after they've committed a crime. And so just follow what the law is on the books. We did it for many, many years. You know, after 9/11, we had a system in which everyone who was born outside of the United States who got arrested got referred to ICE for an electronic detainer and adjudication after they were done with their state or local crimes. That's what we should get back to. That's a protective policy that helps Americans, that helps cities and towns all over the country. That's where we should be.
We know border crossings are down significantly under Trump. We showed our viewers those numbers a minute ago. He's also using executive actions to improve border protection. What else would you like to see happen to ensure these low encounters moving forward?
Well, we're doing what needs to be done, right? There are very low activity levels at the southwest border. People who still choose to cross illegally are being dealt with either in the prosecution system or being flown, like the folks from Mexico are being flown home down south. And so we're going to continue to do that. The declaration of emergency. Now we have to shore up the infrastructure that needs to be built in the places where it's appropriate. And then we have to continue to drive these consequences so that people recognize that they're not going to be released into the United States, and some of them may be prosecuted if they elect to come into the country illegally. So we've got to keep doing that and establish the rule of law, secure that border, which will make America safer.
The Trump administration is prioritizing the prosecution of border-related offenses. We're talking about human smuggling, human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking. How does this deter people from committing these crimes, Ronald?
Consequences matter. We went through 4 years where people were allowed to come in, and many of them were released into the United States without any criminal prosecution and very lax immigration enforcement. We've ended that nonsense, and now people are being held to account for their illegal activity, including criminal charges. And so consequences, the deterrent effect of people recognizing that crossing the border illegally is still a crime and they're to be held account for it. Many more will stay home and elect not to come across the border illegally.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.